request everyone to please come and occupy the front seats.
Hello, check. Hello. 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 Check.
request everyone to be please seated quickly. Please come forward and occupy the front seats. Please come and occupy the front seats. Everyone at the back, please come forward and occupy the front seats. distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I request all our guests to keep your mobile phones switched off or on silent mode. Kindly note that there are two safety exits on your left and your right in case of any emergency. May I invite the following dignitaries to take their respective places. Mr. T.V. Narendran, Chairman, XLRI Board of Governors. Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, Chairman, Tata SIA Airlines, and the esteemed speaker for this evening. Father S. George S.J., Director of XLRI. Dr. Sanjay Patro, Dean Academics. And Father Kuruvila Pandikattu, Chairperson for the JRD Tata Foundation for Business Ethics. Please stand for the prayer song. Please be seated. May I request Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, Mr. T.V. Narendran, and the other dignitaries on the dais to please come and light the lamp. I now call upon our chairman, Mr. T.V. Narendran, to give his address.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, the chief guest for the evening and the speaker for the JRD Oration, Mrs. Rinda Bhaskar, members of the Board of Governors of XLRI, esteemed guests, faculty and staff, students, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 30th JRD Oration, JRD Tata Oration on Business Ethics, an event that has been of singular significance to all of us ever since it was initiated in 1991. In 1991, XLRI, in association with a few select Tata Group companies, established the XLRI JRD Tata Foundation for Business Ethics to mark their long-standing commitment and contribution to business ethics in India. The foundation seeks to address itself by publicly affirming the imperative need for adopting ethics in business and striving to shape an enabling ecosystem to foster ethical practices in business. The activities that are undertaken by this foundation include the annual JRD Tata Oration in Business Ethics and cutting-edge research and publication in the field of business ethics. Mr. JRD Tata himself, a role model extraordinaire, as a first orator, set the bar high for the successive ethics orations for 3 decades. We at XLRI have been truly privileged to have had distinguished speakers from different realms to visit us here in Jamshedpur and share with us their thoughts and experiences in the field of business ethics and many other walks of life. It's indeed a great privilege for me to introduce to you our speaker for this evening, Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt. Bhaskar began his career in 1978 as a management trainee at Godrej and Boyce Manufacturing Company, and after spending 5 years with Godrej, he joined the Tata Watch project. And after that, he was associated with the Titan Company Limited. He retired on 30th of September 2019 after serving as a managing director of the company from April 2002 to September 2019. Titan Company Limited, under Bhaskar's leadership, enlarged its portfolio and extended its market to eyewear, accessories, fragrances, and saris. The market cap of Titan grew to 13 billion USD in 2019 and is now the second largest company in the Tata Group from a market cap point of view. Bhaskar is also the chairman of the Board of Governors of the National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli, college where I passed out from, and he is also associated with the governance of the National Institute of Design. He is a board member of IITM, Pravartak Technologies Foundation. Bhaskar graduated in mechanical engineering from IIT Madras and completed his PGDM from IIM Ahmedabad. He has been conferred the Distinguished Alumnus Award at both IIT Madras and IIM Ahmedabad. Bhaskar is also a director in Tata Sons Limited, Titan Company, Trent, and Carrot Lane Trading Private Limited, and the chairman of the board of Rallies India and Tata SIA, which you know as Vistara. He is also an independent director in Bosch and in Kansai and Nerolac Paints Limited. Having known Bhaskar for many years, I think there are very few people who've been as successful as him, but has carried that success with great humility, and he has a very endearing, self-effacing quality about him. XLRI has always emphasized on the importance of adopting an ethical code of conduct within the corporate world. We believe that no management education curriculum is entirely complete unless and until the students are instilled with a set of values that are necessary decision-making ingredients. It is for this reason that a core course on managerial ethics is offered to all our students at XLRI. The culture of an organization is established by the tone set at the top. And over the last few years, we've also seen many, many reputed organizations and some outstanding CEOs being named and shamed and fined or imprisoned for the ethical lapses the world over. So it is important as students who are going out there in the professional world to understand and value the importance of ethics. As a leader of an organization, you must ask yourself, if you built a house with your work ethic and dedication, would you trust its foundation enough to live in it? I once again welcome all of you all to the 30th Annual JRD Tata Oration on Business Ethics. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I request Snehal to present a sapling to Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt. May I request Divya to present a bouquet to Mrs. Vrunda Bhaskar. May I request Shivam to present a sapling to our chairman, Mr. T.V. Narendran. May I request Preeti to present a bouquet to Mrs. Ruchi Narendran. May I request Purvi to present a sapling to Father S. George. May I request Nehal to present a sapling to Dr. Sanjay Patro. May I request Shivam to present a sapling to Father Kurivilla Pandikattu. I now call upon Father Kuruvilla to give the introduction to the JRD Tata Foundation for Business Ethics and the Oration.
Esteemed and dear Mr. T.V. Narendran, Global CEO and Managing Director, Tata Steel, and Chairman, Board of Governors, XLRI, Reverend Father George Sebastian S.J., Director, XLRI, Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, Chairman, Tata SIA Airlines, Director, Tata Sons Limited, and Chief Speaker for the 30th Annual JRD Tata Oration on Business Ethics, Dr. Sanjay Patrao, Dean Academics, XLRI, Father Donald De Silva, SJ, Dean of Administration and Finance, XLRI, members of the Board of Governors of XLRI, distinguished guests, faculty, media persons, staff, students, ladies and gentlemen. The annual JRD Tata Ethics Oration Day traditionally honors the death anniversary of Jehangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata, which is in fact 10 days from today, 29th November, who was chairman of the Tata Group for almost 53 years, from 1938 to 1991. JRD Tata was known throughout his life to proclaim and live the one challenging message: ask not just what is legal, but go beyond and ask, is it the right thing to do? Established in 1991, the XLRI JRD Tata Foundation for Business Ethics was to mark its long-standing commitment and contribution to business ethics in India, as Honorable T.V. Narendran just mentioned. Part of this foundation is the JRD Tata Chair in Business Ethics at XLRI, the only B school in India that has a dedicated chair for business ethics named after the celebrated industrialist JRD Tata. As the chair incumbent since 2022, I am privileged to update you with some of the activities of this JRD Tata Ethics Chair. After having served the foundation for almost 10 years as chair, Professor Dr. O.C. Mascarenhas S.J. has returned to his province, Karnataka. While thanking him for all his contributions to the foundation, we wish him continued good health and are inspired by his life. After a lull of activities forced on us by the pandemic, we are glad to initiate again our activities in full swing. Dr. John George Chiramel, our visiting faculty in business ethics, has been taking 11 courses proficiently and efficiently for our students in business ethics in every academic year, even during the pandemic. Thank you. The regular workshops on enhancing ethical culture planned along with Tata Steel Jamshedpur has already begun. In fact, we had the first one with the theme Resolving Ethical Dilemmas and Fostering Ethical Culture for senior executives of Tata Steel just yesterday, and we look forward to the others in the coming future. Activities like debate competition for our XLRI students, All India essay writing and poster competitions, they have already been announced. You may get more details of our ongoing activities on our website. Some other related activities are being planned. One, global online lecture series on business ethics. Two, survey and evaluation of ethics sensitivity and maturity at Tata Steel. Further, research and publications in the related field of applied and business ethics are encouraged, and we are pursuing it. We look forward to initiating ICP and MDP programs in this area of ethics. A major event, an international ethics conclave, is being planned for the coming academic year. Thank you, one and all, for your active collaboration, and may God bless us all.
Thank you, Father Kuruvilla. We shall now play a short video as a tribute to Mr. JRD Tata.
Cliche for a host to introduce his guest as one who needs no introduction. In your case, this is something that's quite literally true. Have you felt that a liability to need no introduction?
I'm very happy. Please don't introduce me. I don't think there's any need for this conversation at all. But anyway, I've agreed to, and I'm doing it because I've admired or I've appreciated the two conversations I've seen. I thought at least this fellow is fairly kind to his victims and makes things easy. So,
have you felt inhibited about the fact that you're easily recognized, that you're a well-known personality? Does that intrude upon your life?
yes, but only in Bombay. I'm not known anywhere else really, at least not visibly or not by being seen.
JRD Tata, as you heard, delivered the first address, and after that, mediocrity. That drive was clearly reflected in his leadership of Air India. When JRD was the chairman, and for more than a quarter of a century he led that organization, Air India was counted amongst the top 3 airlines of the world.
When I realized the list of speakers for tonight included JRD Tata, I must say I start this oration with a sense of awe and humility. It's quite an honor, thank you. After considerable thought, I decided to speak on a topic that's really close to my heart, and one that I think is really important and crucial to the survival and rebirth of businesses across the globe, putting ethics into action. Not just the talk, but the walk and the implementation and the execution. In short, it's that perception of businesses putting profits first, before people.
I can start with any of the points you raised, but the point that you raised about media becoming the story. Onwards, please do not try and become the story yourself.
May I now request Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, our speaker for this evening, to deliver the oration.
Mr. T.V. Narendran, Father George, other dignitaries on the dais, faculty and students of XLRI, I'm sure sir, there are some alumni here as well, the board of XLRI as well, members of the media. I am truly overwhelmed. When I got this invitation to, I don't know whether I deliver or speak, the oration, you know why I'm overwhelmed. Many instances in corporate life of mine, I have talked about divine coincidences. For me, this is a divine intervention. To be even speaking at this institute on a subject I've never ever spoken on before, and more importantly, with JRD Tata, the great man himself, being named in this oration. So I'll try my best, especially to follow greats like Dr. Irani, the late Dr. Irani, who, frankly, when I was a young sales manager at Titan, I would actually come to Jamshedpur to sell watches, not to him, but to others. And we would hear later, as he took charge of Tata Steel, about his style, and we were told many times by people on our board, especially Mr. Ishat Hussain, who was a Tata Steel man himself at one time, about how I should go to Tata Steel and learn about their communication, their transparency, etc. So talking on this subject, which is on business ethics, may I have the slide, please? Yeah. Is really like bringing coal to Newcastle in a place like this, or let's say teaching Tata Steel to make steel. It's a job which I'll try to do. Till now, I have done these presentations showing some dazzling Titan ads, because the dazzle of the ads carries the audience away, but today I have to speak content. So I have to be very careful. So pardon me if I slip up into some marketing lingo in between, but nevertheless. Well, what inspired me to think about this? Incidentally, the company which I was associated for 36.5 years, Titan Company Limited, had the blessings of the great man himself, although this company, Tata Steel and this institute has probably, he's visited often perhaps, in the sense that one statement he made, I know, before we decided to get into the watch business, to my predecessor, and we were just hanging around as, as management trainees and project managers, when he said that by the turn, we were in doubt because HMT and Alvin and all were big players and so on. He said at the turn of the century, there'll be 1 billion Indians, and the two companies will not be able to adorn 1 billion wrists, so just go ahead. I'm not saying whether there was a visionary statement. That was way back a few years after I joined the Tata Watch project. I joined in 83. It was around 84. So that was like, so many years back. That much memory I have of him, and all the time admired this great statement. If we had done some of the things that some other groups have done, we would have been twice as big as we are today. But we didn't, and I would not have it any other way. So let me start with a bit of a provocation. I have changed the subject from ethics to integrity. And by and large, when we talk ethics, people used to say this is the soft underbelly of a company. But those who know, like Narendran, practicing ethics and good governance and integrity is much harder than running a business. So it's not a soft underbelly. I am just going to turn this whole thing around and talk about integrity and ethics being purposeful and strategic in today's context of business. This is, I must make the disclaimer, these are personal opinions and therefore not so well researched, but I'll still stand by my opinion. First of all, I just want to tell you there's a lot of confusion about ethics. And I'll shorten this to ethics, not integrity and ethics. For me, integrity and ethics is a single word, not two words. Integrity and ethics is not just about non-compliance of the law. It's not just about dealing with dishonesty. It's not just about dealing with bribery. It's not just about dealing with cheating, plagiarism, corruption, unfairness. Why I talk about all these is, especially if you're a Tata company, any of these activities, including ill treatment of an employee by a boss, gets reported to the ethics committee through the whistleblower, whichever way, because people, there's this umbrella called ethics, and the more you're seen as ethical, the more subjects are treated as ethical dilemmas, ethical issues, ethical problems. But I'm saying it's not just about these. All of these, of course, are important. And for me, these constitute the base case, dealing with these. So let me start with the business case, which is easy to understand, I believe. And there's some data which just supports this. There is a global survey that's been done by Ethisphere. The 5-year ethics premium of companies which have scaled up the ladder on ethics as measured by Ethisphere is a 24.6% premium over the large cap index, which is those companies. So there is a premium that the market pays to you for being ethical. Now that's good business. That's as good as anything else. We know this, whether you take the most respected brand, the most valuable brand, Tata is number one, and it goes without saying, there is a huge, huge foundation of ethics that goes with the Tata Group. The top 10 most valuable Indian brands, and this study is carried out by my colleague Harish Bhatt at Tata Sons, and we've continued to be number one for a long time. Strong ethics is good business. 935,000 people in 100 countries across 6 continents work for the group. I'm not saying all of it is because of our ethical practice. Certainly, a certain segment which chooses to be in the group values this. Does that constitute a big asset? Is it something that is captured in our balance sheets? No, but certainly has great value, as Narendran will certainly endorse. Tata Steel itself has won many, many awards, including at the World Economic Forum. And I think for the 7th year in running, amongst the world's most ethical companies. Now that is the reason why I say that I'm overwhelmed. in this city to talk on this subject. So, the first thing, it makes good business sense. Now, maybe I'm being very mercenary when I say this. Ethics and profits. But it rings a good bell when you say you start being ethical and it will make business sense eventually, but you have to run your business as well. Just to get back to the soft underbelly versus the hard processes that the group follows, I'm glad, as Father Kuruvilla said, there are so many courses here and you have a separate foundation for ethics at the XLRI. Just to give you, I'll show you 2 slides on the hard work that the group does. It's not just people like me standing like this and sermonizing to the 635 or 735,000 employees, talking about ethics. You have to have process, you have to have systems, you have to have measures, and you have to have follow-ups, the whole lot. So here's what my colleague at Tata Sons does, Mr. S. Padmanabhan. There's a framework, leadership of business ethics, there's a framework which has 4 foundations: leadership, compliance structure, communication and training, measurement of effectiveness, and at the bottom of it is the Tata Code of Conduct. And there are several policies: the whistleblower policy, gifts and hospitality policy, anti-bribery and anti-corruption policy, prevention of sexual harassment policy, anti-money laundering policy, and conflict of interest procedure. These common frameworks and applying them structurally and through processes in every Tata company is the manner of achieving. So it is not just culture and sermonizing. There is a proper system that exists in the group. And this is what the future is going to look like. It's going to be behavior supported by process and frameworks. Tata Sons is the custodian of the Tata Code of Conduct. This is the way the ethics governance system works. I don't want to go through all the points here, but just to give you a small example, every Tata company has a whole ethics organization which enables the execution of all this across the company. So anybody has an ethical concern, has an ethics counselor to whom he can go and share his concerns, his or her concerns. What we are trying to do really is that it's not enough to be ethical yourself. Can we encourage advocacy of ethics? That is the only way large corporations can ensure that the whole corporation becomes ethical and there is integrity. Not just by policies or the code of conduct. I now skip to beyond business. We've just heard how valuable it is to be ethical, how useful it is, and what processes you can apply in businesses, structures, to ensure ethical conduct in the company. But beyond business, some thoughts I want to share with you. The first is the idea of an inverted pyramid, or walk the talk. The second is about individual ethics, being conscious and caring, and ethics and integrity. For all of those who are still at the institute and who are 45 years younger than me, I believe ethics and integrity is a cool way to live life. And I'll tell you why. Let me talk about the inverted pyramid. All authority structures in all organizations have authority flowing from the top to the last worker in Narendran's steel factory or whoever is in the mine. There is an authority, there is a SOP, and there is all kinds of rules and regulations that govern the execution of that authority down the line. But on the ethics and integrity side, I believe, and this is not on the organization chart, it is an inverted pyramid. And those who can see this as an inverted pyramid, I believe, have actually achieved nirvana in ethics and integrity. What I mean is, the CEO talks the talk, yes, but is he walking the talk? Is what the last employee in your company is watching you. And not just the CEO at the top, his boss's boss, and so on and so forth. Let me just explain to you. We can stand here and talk about, let us say, following the code of conduct or reducing cost, travel cost or something like that. And then the same employee sees a whole jamboree because profits were achieved of big spend going abroad, overseas. Now, both are right. The jamboree is celebration, recognition, but if you're telling somebody cut cost, the guy is saying it's happening at my expense. I cut the cost and these guys are enjoying. I'm not making any statements about behavior. I'm just saying these are thoughts, concerns, feelings that go down at the level of an employee. We can easily talk about we are an employee-friendly company. Yeah, I have said it God knows how many times. But do I walk the talk every time? And it's not friendly as in putting your hand around his shoulder and walking. Employee-friendly, that guy comes and tells me in Tamil, sir, enga boss, na pata, he keeps on shouting at me. Now, you can say what MD doesn't have to deal with this. Yes, he doesn't have to deal. But does the MD then go back and ensure that there is a certain listening process that is put in place to take care of that problem? So the inverted pyramid is really something for all of us to think of. And I think it's a journey. I can't say that it's a destination worth following or worth going to. I want to take the example of Tata Nano, and I think a lot has been written about Tata Nano. Two things about the Tata Nano project, and whether this belongs in the ethics oration or not, I want to still say it, which is because I'm on the Bosch board and I was watching the Nano project from outside when I was in Titan. I know that once Mr. Ratan Tata spoke about this or dreamt about this and talked about how he cared about those people in auto rickshaws and motorcycles, two-wheelers, too many people, unsafe travel, and how he was dreaming of, it was not just the 1 lakh rupee car, it was more than that. Everybody came together, all suppliers, and I know for sure, Bosch is a global company, it's German. They worked so hard to ensure that the components they were supplying, they would cut their profits or whatever and ensure that they could deliver at that cost. Nano's story of whatever happened has happened. But I know when it was launched, Mr. Ratan Tata made a statement, and I think it's very famous. He said, "A promise is a promise." That is walking the talk. I'm sure during the course of that journey of the 1700 crore plant in Gujarat and everything, there must have been so many challenges. But a promise is a promise. That is walking the talk. You can't just dream, talk, and then not walk the talk. Adversity reveals true character. I don't think many of you were around perhaps at the time of this incident that happened at Tata Finance. It was a disaster, a rogue CEO. Without going into the details, the point was not about coming clean, public about what went wrong. The Tata Finance case is about paying back every investor who had invested in Tata Finance and paying back fully. Now, in this journey, such errors occur, but it's what you do, how the corporation acts is what is important. I don't think anybody remembers this anymore because of the way the group dealt with it. The second, I spoke about one, which is walking the talk, now individual ethics. There is challenge in all of us, even as we work, and you guys will start working soon. And we tend to think that personal life, social life, and work life are three different circles, and small intersection happens. But when it comes to values, ethics, and integrity, in real life, you cannot separate it. It is not possible to be of your food habits or your sleep habits or your physical exercise or whatever else can be different in these three worlds. But your ethical behavior and your integrity just comes together as a confluence in real life. And one of the things that ends up, and again this looks like a sermon, at the individual level, do you read the code of conduct or the rule book when a wrongdoing happens? Let me give you another example. There are companies and companies who talk to employees about, you are here and we'll support you and your family is looking up to you, etc., etc. Okay, that's the right thing to do. A small ethical transgression, and the right thing we do is show him the door. What happens to the family then is a very big question mark. So, the manager who's actually, reporting this, what does he do? How does he deal with this situation? Is he being just? Is he being fair? Can he be kind? And of course, he has to follow the rule book, but at the same time, there's something beyond the rule book. These are questions that companies need to answer. I know of two instances in Titan itself which became very controversial because of the idea of pardon. The idea of pardon, I think now, the Supreme Court has a few months back not talked about pardon, but about rejuvenating criminals and bringing them back to society. But that's a different subject. So this individual ethics is another challenging area. Companies which can achieve the same level of ethics at each individual level, including at the top, achieve corporate ethical behavior, which can be far, far ahead of most other companies. You cannot separate individual ethics from corporate ethics because it's the individuals who are actually doing the work and ensuring that the corporate is delivering ethical behavior. There is a small story about Tata NYK on this point about going beyond the call of duty. It was the Sagar Shakti Tata NYK ship somewhere near Indonesia got this SOS call on October 18, 2020. And it lost 3 days of its commercial shipping time just to rescue 6 sailors. Now, here again, it is at that point in time what the captain decided, which finally nobody can tell him. Maybe he called his boss, I don't know, but I don't know, did he call you? But now this is just an example of how individual decisions make up corporate ethics. The third I want to talk about is the smart way to be, which is what I said, cool. I believe that during my own tenure, it's not personal alone, but the company's behavior itself. We were in businesses which are pretty ugly at the back. The competition, if you look at jewelry and eyewear and saris and so on, the supply chain is pretty ugly. It's exploitative and so on. And of course, they don't pay taxes and all kinds of things. But there's no other way we would have done business, and we continued on that course. The first thing that happens is that you can look the government in the eye and say, this is what is going wrong in the industry, and we believe you have to right it. Because you know that you have done no wrong. I'm not talking about compliance alone. So in jewelry, when the whole industry used to say, don't impose excise duty, the karigars will die and this and that and all, we would go and say, do what is right, but do it across the industry. Implementation is a huge problem. Today, I don't know if you're aware, the import duty on customs duty on gold is 15%. At one time it was 4%. And government is making a lot of money from this. All of that was going to the smuggler's pocket. So you end up with great deal of respect at an individual level, but more importantly for the young, it instills confidence in you when you know that you have done no wrong. The new opportunities that have come the Tata way, I'll take you through two. 10 days back, or a few days back, there was this big project which was announced with Airbus for defense. And we were the chosen partners for that project, for making defense aircraft. Why? Because that space, you know how fuzzy it is and how, kind of questionable practices and so on. It's come to us. There's a very, very big project at the backyard of Titan in Hosur. We are the preferred partner to one of the largest mobile phone manufacturer in Hosur. And that came not because of our skill. We have no skill. We make watches, not Titan, I'm not talking about. Otherwise we make steel. But that came to us because of good governance, trustworthy, and so on. The second bit is when large ethical corporations make mistakes. And my colleague was talking about the Indica car. It had problems initially, but an honest attempt. It is niti or niyat. Is your intent to correct it honest, and are you on that journey? People forgive you. It's not like the fans of an Amitabh Bachchan or a Sachin Tendulkar or a Rajnikant. They forgive anything that they do. But here we are talking about fans of the Tata brand who know that the intent and behavior of the whole group is straight, clean, and clear. So that's the second advantage. The third, as I said, is that you become the valued partner. And if I were to tell you, we stayed with our partner. You spoke about my chairmanship. Vistara is a joint venture between Singapore Airlines and Tata Sons, 49% Singapore Airlines. And this is a 30-year-old story. It didn't work out initially. You know for what reasons. Mr. Ratan Tata has spoken about it. But we stayed with them. There were a lot of temptations, including in the last. Actually, it's a coincidence that I'm now speaking. The first JRD Tata Oration is happening after we acquired Air India. I'm so happy. That's another divine intervention as far as I am concerned. I'll take 2 more minutes. When I talk about walking the talk, and several examples hold out, the Taj, motto is guest is God. They actually live by that motto, the Taj hotels. They have the greatest amount of warmth. Now, guest is God is not just spoken by Puneet Chatwal from the stage. On 26/11/2008, when that event happened, guest is God came alive at the level of the housekeeper even. I spoke to one of them who was there. He was so simple. He's a Maharashtrian. He said, हाँ सर हुआ सर हम लोग थे वहाँ पे लेकिन सर गेस्ट है ना गेस्ट को तो पहले बचाना चाहिए ना. So a guy who comes in between the terrorist and the guest didn't look at his KRA or his SOP. What should I do? He just, and there was a HUL board of directors there, and they told me, one of them was on my board, and he said how the girl would even ask whether they were holed up in a room, ask whether they wanted wine. They were serving the guest like that. Now that is at the individual level. Tata Steel at Kalinganagar, I know it's a long story, many of you know it, but my breath was taken away when I landed at Kalinganagar. Because I thought, okay, I was going to see the most modern steel factory and so on. And Sunil Bhaskaran was the guy who received me there. And I get off the helicopter and there are these executives. He said, okay, we'll go here. So where are you taking me? No, we are taking you to the hospital. The values of this company, what hospital this we built for the tribals, they asked me to spend, 45 minutes in the hospital. I said, where's the plant, Well, that is like, ispat bhi hum banate hain, you used to say, but that is what Tata Steel is about. And the last one is a bit about demonetization day, when at 8 p.m. the Prime Minister started speaking, 8:30 finished. We had 245 stores, Tanishq, and you know what happened that night. The point I'm trying to tell you is, at 12 midnight, you have to stop accepting those notes. Can you imagine the ordinary girl we kept the stores open because customers asked us to, and we kept them open beyond 12, but that was to complete the invoicing. The cash kept coming, whether you were in Haridwar, Guwahati, Vijayawada, Chandigarh, people pleading. ले लो, कल बिल करो, जो भी करना है, पैसा मेरा ले लो. Not a single transgression, not a single. And these are ordinary girls for whom and this is not small sum, this is not small sum. The average ticket size of a Tanishq bill is 2 lakhs. And, these guys were bringing 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs. And for that girl, that month's incentive would have been a whole year's salary. But she said no. And it was not that some Bhaskar Bhatt and C.K. Venkatraman, who was heading the jewelry, were calling up and saying, don't do this, don't. It was just, they did it, Now that is the strength of what you practiced over the years, not just sermonized. So these are the examples. So I just want to close. Again, integrity and ethics, one word, is more than, I said not just, it's more than non-compliance, dishonesty, bribery, cheating, plagiarism, corruption, unfairness. For me, as young people, more and more research tells me that you people are looking for purposeful corporations, purposeful businesses, and businesses which are responsible and responsible about the planet and people. Integrity in ethics is purposeful and strategic because it feeds into the greatest asset in the world of business, according to me, which the Tata Group has proprietary ownership, I believe, and that is called trust. Leadership with trust is what the group has led this country with. And trust, as Mr. JRD Tata said, trust is earned. It is not just given. Trust is earned, and trust is mutual trust. You have to be trustworthy, and you have to be trusting. They are two different words, two different ways. Only if you are trusting can you be trustworthy as well. And trusting an employee not to do wrong on that 26/11 or on that demonetization day comes out of all the other hard work that you do in a corporation. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking and inspiring oration. Mr. Bhatt will now take questions from the audience from his seat. If you have any questions, request you to come to the mic placed in front of you.
Thank you for the very interesting talk. I liked your example of the Tata Nano, the thing that he wanted to make, the spirit that went behind. But whenever Tata Nano is talked, we again associate it with the Shingur thing about taking the fertile land of farmers, and so your take on that aspect, and the Tata's got a bad name because of the Shingur incident. The other thing, another example that I liked is, if for some ethical reason a person is fired, it is not just him, but the family that bears the brunt, who have no doing it. If the company takes, and in places like Tata's where you give house accommodation, good schooling and things like that, all of that is withdrawn. If you take care of the family, sponsoring the child's education and things, then you're out of the ethical dilemma, but you encourage, that would encourage unethical practices even more, because if I do it, my family is taken care of. So what is your take, should the company go ahead in such instances or not? Thank you so much.
Should I answer one by one, or? Yeah, okay. I think the Singur case that you're asking about, I think Tata Steel itself has behaved in a certain way in Kalinganagar. There is the project had to be executed. For whatever reason, West Bengal government, wouldn't let us go there, invest there, farmers' land being taken, etc. Even today, we are trying to be as fair as we can, as the discussions are going on, and we will be fair. And forget farmers, we have, about 4 years back with Docomo, we just did whatever was right because of the promise that was unwritten, and we still did it. So I think Singur will be tackled in a certain Tata way, and it will move forward. As far as the second bit is concerned, this is a journey. There are no process answers, but the end is clearly in sight for me. As far as, if you're saying somebody will take advantage of this policy and say, hum galt karte rahenge aur hamara family will be taken care of, I agree. There is a risk there. So there are there are ways of skinning this cat and punishing the person but sparing the family. I have no answers, but the two cases that I spoke of, the reversal is extraordinary. Reversal of behavior. That is the faith you need to have. That the reversal of behavior. See, there is a lot of research which talks about fraud. Fraudsters are apparently born and they're genetically fraudsters. I don't agree. I mean, that is fraud of a financial nature perhaps, but there are small transgressions that happen and there is true repentance now. I don't want to go into subjects like that, but there is a judgment that can be applied, and at least the two cases, we had one frontline worker, factory worker, who we had to sack. 5 years later, we took him back, and he's now part of our CSR committee, a big champion. And the worry in the management was, if we take him back, the whole union will sit on the management's head and so on. These are all imaginations of people. There was another, which was a borderline case. Both have turned out to be exceptional. Now, 2 out of 6,500 people, doesn't move the needle, but it's a starting point.
May we have the next question, please?
Thank you, sir, for the inspiring message. My name is Swapnil Sahu, and I'm part of the executive FPM for general management, and ethics was there in my coursework. And one of the questions I did ask in the class, but I would like to, at the sake of repetition, would repeat it here is, what do you think about layoffs in the organizations happening? Right now as we speak, we have Twitter getting 50% laid off, Amazon, Google, all top notches. I myself am a working professional. We also have a startup, but it's a small number. So how ethical is laying off folks who, gave their sweat in such a time when you need it, but now you don't need it? So that's my question.
I think this is much easier to answer. The forerunner in this has been Tata Steel, and in Titan we followed Tata Steel, and now following Titan is another company called Bosch. It is not the same in India and abroad. The pink slip is a very different kind of pink slip in India. Tata Steel took care of its employees in the manner in which only Tata Steel could. And it happened, I suppose, during Jamshedpur's time, from 70-odd thousand people brought down to 40-odd thousand or something like that. And that happened in a manner which ensured livelihoods for those people, and it was the Tata Steel way. I don't think even a single problem arose after that. We had a slightly different issue in Titan. We followed that same practice, really generous. The neighbors, TVS and Ashok Leyland, they said, you're just killing the business, environment in this place by being so generous. But one mistake which I made, it was during my tenure, we didn't educate those employees how to use the money. And it was the family which, and few 10% of the cases, drinking and gambling and all kinds of things, the money went into the wrong. So when you do that, the Indian pink slip kind, as I said, it has to be done the Indian way, and it can be achieved very well, and you can get a win-win out of that. The Twitter and it's very American in terms of style. It's just wrong. It's just wrong, and we can't dictate the manner in which, that is like the reverse of compliance. This is what I told you when I hired you, and I'm exercising my authority. I had a boss in Godrej who used to tell me, when you hire, think 10 times before you hire him. But when you fire, think 100 times before you fire him. So, that is the point. Whereas this one doesn't look like that.
Can we have the next question?
Hello sir, thank you so much for such a thought-provoking and illuminating talk. I'm Sanjana Vashne from PGDM batch. The instance that you told about a sales girl in Tanishq, she could have earned a lot of incentives on the day of demonetization. My question is, employee commitment towards ethics is, I think it's equally important as the ethics that's followed by leadership within Tatas. So, first of all, how do you actually gauge whether a person is having this characteristic while you are recruiting that person in Tatas? Secondly, how do you align them towards this commitment of ethics while they are during their tenure in Tatas?
See, the recruitment processes are different for different companies. There, it is not so easy to assess the ethical behavior. In the olden days, people used to look at family background and all that. Now those are, really passé. There are tests, but the more important input is after. What I showed you as the structure, the training, the communication that goes on, and peer behavior, you learn from others, stories. In some companies now, when I said cool, I wanted to show you some films, including anti-sexual harassment policies. In some companies, skits have been made out of them where, the communication is so clear. Employees themselves, having seen incidents, have created skits and films in which they themselves have acted. So it just becomes, in a way, storytelling, folklore about how somebody did something, some leader, and people begin to behave like that. So, one of the things that is, values are difficult to change. Beliefs you can change as over a period of time, and your behavior certainly you can change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for your delightful lecture. So, sir, my question was that how does a company like Tata in a country like India work in conjunction with politicians? Because that could be an area that could be so much opaque and may sometimes require you to compromise with your value system which are there for the organization, especially in terms of corporate funding and all. So how does that entire conversation happens in the organization, in Tata especially?
Well, it's a very, very difficult journey, frankly, in the group. But let's say the last elections, the funding we did was through the appropriate channel. You must have seen what we did and there is an appropriate way of doing it, clearly above board. Not every group does it that way. Now this is at an institutional level that it had happened through Tata Sons and so on. But at the company level, the general approach is no shortcuts. And today, I think the politicians themselves know that there are no shortcuts. I think the outstanding example is really the airline foray we made some years back. And there was this ask which we didn't succumb to. And we've had to wait for 25 years to get back into the airline business. So it's at the level of the operating managers versus the level of the CEO, two different. At the level of the operating managers, there are challenges. Pollution Control Board guy doesn't give you the approval. But when you approach the secretary or the minister to say, look, somebody is sitting on my paper, everything begins to move. So it's 150 years of behavior which is helping guys like Narendran and me to be able to send your calling card and then the guy says, "Hamare saath chai piyo," bas. who is he? I don't know, Narendran faces this rather more often because of the business he's in. There is a way of doing this, and most of the time we are successful.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Can we have the next question?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I just want to supplement what Bhaskar said, because it's a subject which gets discussed. The Tata Group has a trust, electoral trust, which is manned by people who are not in the group, who are neutral people. And the companies contribute to that electoral fund, the individual companies, and that fund is distributed to all political parties there's a formula on the number of seats that they have and the number of seats that they win. So that formula is applied across and everyone gets a check. There was a discussion about Singur. In the middle of Singur, TMC got a check because they were entitled to a check based on the fact that they had a certain number of seats and the fund is distributed across political parties based on that. What you may put into that fund, the corpus may change, but the distribution is done very, very objectively, independently, using a formula in a very, very structured way. So I just wanted to explain that so that everyone is clear. And the money that each company puts into the fund is there in the annual report of the company. So you can look at that and see how much has TCS put into the fund, Tata Steel put into the fund, Titan put into the fund, or anybody else. And there's a way in which it's distributed transparently. So everyone knows that. Yeah.
That's an important point which I didn't mention, which is complete disclosure. It's an important part of ethical behavior. Disclose. When you're in doubt, disclose.
Can we have the next question?
Hello, sir. My name is Vaibhav Deshmukh. So last month, TCS CHRO made their stance clear on moonlighting issue. They says for Tatas, it is an unethical issue. But looking at the flip side, TCS employees said that they are getting paid lower than the market average. So how Tata is planning to solve this ethical dilemma?
Is your question about TCS employees being paid lower than the market?
Yeah, they claim that they are paid lower than the market. Hence, they are induced to get an additional job.
I think getting paid lower than the market is a company choice, as in there is a value to the TCS job and working for the Tatas. I'm not saying it should be discounted or not discounted. Market, who determined the market? I never believed in this market-based compensation. There is a certain value that that a company can create for you, and I would keep saying that your biodata today versus in a competitor company versus your biodata 5 years from now in a competitor company versus ours, it will be worth more. So this is the journey rather than at that point in time. So I think market-based compensation is a choice a company makes, and how much below or how much above they want to be depends on its competitive nature. But doing this moonlighting is a personal ethical issue. It is irrespective of whether you signed a contract or not, it is not on. It's just not on. And especially in that sector when you are carrying exceptionally confidential information. And I would certainly not support, I don't think even TCS or any other company supports it. There has to be a change.
Okay, sir. That answers my question. Thank you.
May we have the next question? Thank you, Mr. Bhatt, for answering the questions and providing insightful clarifications. I now call upon Dr. Sanjay Patro to propose the vote of thanks.
May I call upon our chairman, Mr. T.V. Narendran, to present the mementos to our chief speaker, Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt. Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, the speaker for the Tata Auditorium, Mr. Narendran, our chairman, Father George, Father Kuruvila, my esteemed faculty colleagues, Mrs. Brinda Bhaskar, Mrs. Ruchi Narendran, Chanakya Chaudhary, Atre Sakar, the other senior managers from Tata Steel. We have Father Tony, Father Jerry Kutina, Father K.S. Kashmir from Delhi campus, Father Jesurajan, Professor Arup Verma from University of Chicago, Loyola University, Chicago, Professor Madhukar was a part of this place for more than 30 years, Rajiv, and my dear students, press, and other dignitaries from the town. It was great listening to Mr. Bhatt walking the talk. It's not a prepared lecture from his days of 1983 when he joined the Tata Group, from Tata Press to Tata Watches to Titan, Titan Watches to Titan Industries to Titan. And he recalled other instances of great exemplary ethical behavior from the employees of Tata Group, both inside and outside the country. Mr. Bhatt, your journey is captured in every marketing session. Your case studies, the way Titan became the market leader. HMT was the timekeepers of the nation. That was their slogan. In just 2 years' time, you increase in 1,000+ watch category, you became the market leader. People recall when I entered, the music was being played, and I heard few of the students saying, Titan, it is Titan music. Mozart's that tune is popularly accepted by Indians as Titan music. If more corporate guys are giving gifts to their employees, watches, you have instilled that idea with your slogan, joy of gifting. In the joy of gifting as well, there is an ethical dimension. What pleasure one gets when you share something with others. After conquering the watch market, under your leadership, you have moved into other accessible markets. The marketing students would know block markets and accessible markets. You moved into Titan I+, Fast Track, Tannisk primarily, and Skin, the fragrance, and of late, Tanneria, the silk sarees, most ethnic sarees. It won't come easily to a person who is from IIT, IIM, leading, being the fifth fifth largest producer of watches in the world, thinking of Indian opportunities where they can serve the customers very well. You discussed about ethics and integrity being just one word, which is understood by everyone here. You took several cases. In fact, the 5-7 cases that you mentioned here would inspire some of the students, some of our faculty to develop case studies to understand the compulsions in which these people acted. You reminded everyone of 2611, the heroes of the Taj. They never trained, no HR policy thinks of training people to face bullets to protect their guests. But everyone did, every employee did. That's the Tata way of ethics. Then you mentioned about whether it pays in the long run, whether it gets captured in the balance sheet. When I look at Air India, which first time flown by JRD himself in 1932, coming back to the Tata Group in 1921, for a sum of about 18,000 crores, and that everybody is happy. There was no article, nothing, written about a national carrier being handed over to a private company. Is because of that ethical perception and behavior. Now it is getting into your balance sheet. When Ford decided to sell off the marquee brands, Jaguar, Land Rover, in 2007, 2008, there were other American bidders. But the UK government influenced Ford management to sell it off, to do the divestment to Tata Motors for a sum of 2.3 billion. All these are cases of, your good work coming back to you after a long time. I'm thankful to our distinguished, the audience comprising of board members and the members of the press, everyone for making this occasion a grand success, especially the questions. The questions wanted to find out it was a crucible test how Mr. Bhatt would answer the critical questions, but it was straight from heart, and he clarified with great conviction. I am thankful to all of you. I thank our staff, our Dean Administration, Father Donald and his team, the team at Dean's Office, Director Office, and every faculty and the student volunteers. And I'm sure the junior students just completed their managerial ethics course, but this is like a capstone session where all the critical and the complex questions got resolved in this 1 hour of interaction. I take this opportunity to thank all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay Patro. May I please request everyone to rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
May I request you all to join us for snacks in front of the Tata Auditorium. Thank you.